Hello, and welcome to Duncraig Senior High School. On the outside, a normal Western Australian school, but on the inside, it houses a dark history. Well, not a dark history, but a history. I'm Morgan Freeman, and welcome to Infamous Education, the history of Duncraig Senior High School.
So I've been asked to talk about Duncraig Senior High School, where it came from.
When I first heard of Daniel Craig, I was shocked.
This information changes Australian history in its entirety.
I think the school's history is simply inspiring.
Duncraig was founded by a great man named Daniel Craig, born in 1772, not to be confused with the actor. In 1786, at age 14, he and his 8 children arrived in Sydney, Australia, and, with only an axe and a rugby cordless power drill, he built a stone house that would soon become Duncraig Senior High School. However, Craig was awaiting the first fleet to truly begin educating people. 2 boats were sent to Australia, one filled with British soldiers and convicts, the other filled with the brightest minds in Europe who valued equality, intelligence, and education. Tragically, this boat would sink. As most of the scholarly books were lost, Daniel was forced to make up this all on his own. But on July 28, 1914, the school's progress was halted. It marked the start of World War I. Daniel Craig was so keen to fight for his country, he enlisted to fight in the war a whole week before it even started. He became infamous on the battlefield and was a key player in many fights such as the Battle of Verdun, the 100 Days Offensive, and the Battle of Somme, where he was awarded the Purple Heart for his bravery. However, according to Craig's diary, he misplaced the medal during the Gallipoli campaign. In 1918, World War I began to wrap itself up, so Craig returned home to Sydney, where his school lay. However, his school was missing. Due to an unfortunate issue with the landlord, the school had to be moved to a different location. He gathered up his belongings and his children and travelled to the other side of the country in his white 2000 Toyota Corolla Seeker. When Craig returned to the school, Duncraig would flourish. The original single building would expand until individual buildings were created for the studies of English, sciences, the arts, humanities, and mathematics. The staff increased from 1 to 4. One of the fresh teachers was a personal friend of Daniel Craig's, a man he had met in the war, a teacher who would become infamous in the school's history, Daryl Deacon.
Yes, it has been said I was one of the first teachers to work at Duncraig Senior High School back in the old days. One of the fondest memories I have is when Daniel Craig and I egged the English block. We thought they might cook on the tiles. Now, not many people know this because I've been one of the senior teachers here for some time. It was a gold mine. It was a gold mine. We used to use the children to mine gold. So during the night, you'll notice at school there were no children. They were all down the tunnels mining gold. During the day, we'd put the children in classes because the government would come and check, and we would have the children dressed in uniforms. And people would say, oh, there's no gold mine here, but it's all about a gold mine. That's the reason for the school. That's why the kids are here.
These rumours were confirmed to be inaccurate. What this does confirm, however, is that Mr. Deacon has gone insane.
Yes, well, Daniel Craig and I, probably our greatest achievement was to set up the cadet unit at the school.
In 1939, tragedy shocked the world once more. The start of World War II. Daryl Deacon and Daniel Craig felt the need to defend their nation and began teaching their students about the art of war, including battle tactics and fighting styles. Now armed with a small army of children, they formed the Duncraig Senior High School Bushranger Cadet Unit. This brave battalion of children would never see or even come close to real warfare, and most died of gangrene in the following winter.
Yes, well, that was the most unfortunate and dark period of the history of the school.
When the war ended, Craig decided to continue the cadet program, and with a new wave of children to be taught, he used his surviving cadets for manual labour. Despite the terrible funding and the impending doom of global warming, Craig had big ideas. Together with his only son, he mapped out an expanse of the school, entire blocks dedicated to each subject, such as a performing arts centre to perform classic Shakespearean plays such as Grease or High School Musical.
From my knowledge, Craig was a massive fan of the arts. He hoped the school would birth the next generation of great actors. Allegedly, this wall was built by Daniel Craig himself.
They began to work. The original classroom built by Craig in 1787 was demolished and replaced with the Daniel Craig Library for the Education of Australia, later shortened to the Library. The rest of the school would be built around this heart. By 1965, they had completed the Science Block, Math Block, English Block, Arts and Languages Block, Performing Arts Centre, Administration, Student Services, and a large field used for planting wheat. But in 1967, tragedy struck. A letter arrived on the desk of Daniel Craig, an invitation to go swimming with a close friend, Prime Minister Harold Holt. On the 17th of December, the two men went down to Cheviot Beach to frolic in the sea, and were never seen again. Some claimed they drowned, others said they had been eaten by sharks, but the most common theory is that they were attacked and murdered by draw bears.
Truly the school's darkest moment. The school would then fall into the hands of Daniel Craig's only living son.
Donathy Craig. His first decision was to rename the school from Dan Craig to Duncraig. This would be his only impact on the school. Donathy dreamed not of teaching, but of making movies in Hollywood. So, he sold the school to a man named Louise Cheeseman, famous American entrepreneur and pioneer of the dairy industry. Donathy received $3.75 for the school and used the remaining money to buy himself a pair of sunglasses before wandering off into the bushland to fulfill his dreams of fame and wealth. He was never seen again. Some claim he survived and returned to the school, but there has never been any confirmation on these rumors. With his only son missing, and the majority of his stuff locked away in storage containers, the story of Daniel Craig would soon fade away into legend. And eventually, he would be forgotten in history books, along with other great minds like the great filmmaker Henry Star Wars or Chef Kaylen Vegemite.
It wasn't until 1976 that Duncraig would see its next great pioneer.
After noticing a decrease in the health of the students, Louise Cheeseman would hire Larry Lillywhite, the first ever sports teacher. He pioneered the physical education department, building a new gymnasium, basketball court, and tennis court with nothing but some small gym shorts and a whistle. His most notable achievement happened when a Year 7 threw a ball at him, which he dodged. He then threw the ball back at the Year 7, both knocking him out and in the process inventing the game dodgeball. Following the birth of his son in 1979, Larry Lillywhite retired. Before he left, he would plant a small Bankshire plant northwest of the school. This plant would grow bigger and bigger through the years, and would eventually become the Bankshire Block.
Larry Lillywhite is one of the most renowned sports teachers ever. I often find myself reading his biography, Sport, just to get inspired.
Almost 41 years later, Larry's son, Peter Lillywhite, also known by the rapper title Dr. Pete 3000, would eventually take on the role of principal, and would work alongside school owner Louise Cheeseman to run Duncraig. Although they didn't know it, they were continuing Daniel Craig's dream and keeping the school snazzy.
There are those who would deny this account of history, who would call Dan Craig a crazy old man, and claim that this documentary is a pile of
Absolute rubbish.
But there are a few out there who know the truth about Daniel Craig and the real history of Duncraig Senior High School.